So we'll go ahead and get started. And I'm Cynthia Forrest. I haven't changed my name since earlier. Vice President of Student Affairs here at the University of New England. We're so thrilled you're here.
And I'm Jeanne, I'm the Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences, which is primarily an undergraduate college, and all of your children will be taking their undergraduate program either completely in my college or at least starting out, because chemistry, biology, physics, math, a lot of courses that the health profession students take, as well as the general education curriculum, are mostly out of my college. So.
Graybeal, Associate Dean, the Westbrook College of Health Professions.
And I'm Charles Tilburg, and I'm the Associate Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences. And I supervise the College of Arts and Sciences Advising Office.
He's also a member of the Marine Science faculty.
Yes.
Great. So this is your time to ask anything that's okay. There we go.
I just wanted to, maybe you could expand on a little bit, Dr. Forrest, and that ROI metric that you had mentioned this morning, 20-year ROI at UNE, maybe a little bit more about specifics on that.
This study is conducted by payscale.com. You've probably seen them in the news. And so they rated institutions, and I haven't looked at the details of the study to see how they did it.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, they probably have tracked people, 20 years out. And so actually, that is the statistic that came from them.
And UNE, where does UNE place in that?
Let's see, top in Maine.
Okay.
Ahead of Facebook and Colbert.
Right, and the top 15% in the country. The numbers escaping.
So there were, there were, I believe, over
1,300 and something, and you guys were 188.
Exactly.
188.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So thank you. So we're
that's right. That's in your folder, right?
So, and we've worked very hard on that. We know, and that's the reason that UNE's, or at least one of the reasons that UNE's record of paying back student loans is very strong. And our employment and graduate school figures are so good. So we're really proud of that number. To be the top in Maine is really exciting.
And one of the other things, last year, the Pay Scale did a study of satisfaction of people in their careers, and UNE graduates were, I think, second in the country in that study. So not only do they do well, but also they're happy with what they're doing, which is really at the heart of what we're trying to do, is to have students be very well educated, very balanced, but happy people, good people, Thank you for that question.
Sure.
Do you have a sense on why your graduate school percentage is so much higher than the national average? I'm a big proponent of 4 years and done. So,
I can tell you why, because we are so largely a pre-health profession school, and almost all the health professions, save nursing, dental hygiene, maybe a few others, require graduate school. So students come to UNE for all kinds of reasons, but one of our niches is definitely pre-health. So they're going to medical school, dental school, pharmacy, and everything else. That's the reason.
And we also have students going to law school. I mean, one of our graduates, I think it was 3 years ago, had like 10 offers, full rides. We had one of our science students, full ride to Dartmouth.
Yeah.
And also had a choice between Harvard and our student who graduated last year. He's on a full ride to Stanford, biochemistry. So.
But that's also where our 89% last year, 90% the year before of students within 6 months of graduating were either in graduate school or employed in their field. So we're doing well with the bachelor's degrees. So here's an example of that. So psychology is a really strong department here. But every school, probably literally every school has a psychology department. If your student's interested in psychology, he or she could go anywhere. But our psychologists, a couple of years ago, the state of Maine passed a law that said that if you were going to work in any kind of healthcare facility that included mental health services, whether it's a hospital, a nursing home, a center for rehabilitation, whatever, you had to have this special mental health rehabilitation certificate. So overnight, everybody working in this field wasn't certified. And so many people are now going back to school, paying extra money to get this certification. So our program, the only one in Maine at the time, saw that instantly, and they built in that certification into an undergraduate degree. So whereas other places, if you graduate with a bachelor's in psychology, you might then do another year to get the certification. But at UNE, you graduate with a bachelor's degree and the certification, making you ready to start on day one, working in any of those clinics or settings across the state. So we really we know careers and income is a really important factor. We know what you're spending on education, and it's huge.
I think that's a great example of one of the things that I've certainly learned, the flexibility that we have here as a private institution. A colleague in a public institution, that would take 3 years to 4 years to make that happen, whereas we can identify it and then implement it.
It's built in, so the kids don't have to know to do that. It's built like my daughter's going into nursing, so if she wants to work in a hospital, I'm assuming, we don't have this in New Jersey, so I'm assuming if she's working here in a hospital, she has to, like if she stays here and wants to work here, she has to have that because they would have a mental health clinic.
I don't believe it's true for nurses. I don't want to, these are people who have bachelor's degrees in psychology. I think as a nurse, like she'd already have extra training that she wouldn't have to do it. So I wouldn't worry about that. Or we could just go and look at the details.
But it would be, you guys would know, tell me.
Oh, absolutely. And our nurses are absolutely getting employed right off the bat when they graduate. So. Thank you.
Do you accept AP credits? Is there a certain score for AP credits?
Yes, there is. There actually is a link if you want. In fact, last week I sent it to another family. So we actually have it mapped out what levels you need for certain courses coming in.
Yeah, you can just go on the admissions website. But here's the thing about AP credits. So UNE is like every other school in accepting AP credits. We give credit for them. If you get a 4 or a 5, and you can just look at the list, then you're exempted from taking that course, say Intro to Biology, Intro to American History, whatever it might be. But if your child is interested in medical school or dental school, maybe a few others, there's pharmacy one as well, they don't recognize it. So if I'm an admissions advisor for, University X, College of Medicine, I'm going to want you to have taken college level biology even though you did well on the AP. So you have to be really careful about that. So in orientation, when the students come this summer, and again, we advise around that. So some students will come in with the credit, and we recommend that they take the course anyway to keep their options open for graduate school.
Does it also apply to credits they may be getting from like community colleges that work with
those
schools?
Transfer in, and those are college credits, so the same issue doesn't apply.
Okay.
And those are evaluated coming in the door by our admissions team, so that a student will know what they're getting in terms of that credit.
Okay, thank you. On the nursing, when they graduate with their BSN, are they prepared to take the boards in any state, just Maine, just?
I think the NCLEX is a national exam now, so yeah, they're prepared for any state.
No.
I apologize, I came in late, I don't know if this question was asked, but what's the undergraduate retention, the approximate percentage of freshmen that come back then for sophomore year?
We're in the neighborhood of 78%, I believe was last year's figure, and we've been inching up. We were at 80 at one point, and then the recession hit, and so we've seen a change. We had a really great retention rate, about 93
fall class this year.
Fall to spring, first year to second year. But the other truth of the matter is, a lot of students come in and find their passions in another area about something that we may not have here. And so, how many of you have changed jobs in your career? It's the same kind of process. So we pay a lot of attention and Dr. Hay can talk a little bit
Yeah,
about
I'm
that
working very
initiative.
hard on retention. It's interesting, I was just, my sister happens to be visiting this weekend, and her daughter started at University of Rochester in pre-med, and we have a lot of pre-med. How many of your students are thinking possibly about pre-med? Okay, a couple, or pre-health professions. And she went on a pre-med track at a good university, and they really did have, they were overt about, we have weed out classes. You know, we're going to put you through the ringer in chemistry and calculus and everything else with the intention of pushing you out because we only want a certain elite. It's just such a different attitude here where we're all about supporting everybody in succeeding. That said, there are students who come in with a health profession's dream and struggle with the science and math. And that's why I think it's great that we're a liberal arts college, because they can pick up, you know, they can go into history or policy. You know, for example, marine sciences. We have a lot of students who come in wanting to do marine science, thinking I'm going to be a marine biologist, and find, for example, they really struggle with physics or chemistry, and it's not really that exciting to them. So we developed a major in ocean studies and marine affairs because those students want to stay around the ocean. They want to be involved in the marine life, but as policy analysts, as marketers, as environmental support services, say on a fishing boat. There are all kinds of careers in health and in marine that aren't about the science, and we're a really good place to continue your passion, even if it's slightly different from how you started.
That help?
Great.
That's a statistic that we talk about every single day. Our president is right on it, and you know, because we really want to make sure that students have the support. We have an early morning and rolling morning system, and Dr. Tilburg might want to talk about the way that we try to engage students and help them before they really go down a slippery slope.
Yeah.
Sure, I mean, this is probably common in a lot of colleges, but you know, we have a lot of students who are very, very ambitious about what they want to do, and they come into these classes and they realize these classes are much more difficult than they may have imagined that they were going to be. You know, your sons and daughters came from high schools where they were probably one of the better students there, and then I tell the students when I meet them, we take all the best kids at your high school and we put them in one class. But we want them to be successful. We want them to be successful. And so we have something called the rolling alert. And what this is that after about the second week, we ask all of the faculty members in both the Westbrook College of Health Professions and the College of Arts and Sciences that if you notice that there's one of your students that's falling behind or is not coming to class or for whatever reason doesn't look like they're going to be successful in the class, let my office know. And then they send those names to me or to my administrative assistant. And then at that point right there, the assistant sends out this information both to student affairs and to the advisor of the student. Our classes are small enough that we will notice any student that is struggling. Well, student affairs then, the area coordinator or the resident assistant might go and check on the student and see how everything is going, what's going on. The advisor, the academic advisor, will also reach out because we don't have weed out courses. I mean, we have courses, we want our students to be successful. And so we reach out to them both on the academic side and the student affairs side to find out what we can do. We might talk to the student about, you need to go to the Student Academic Success Center. You need to go talk to the professor, or whatever it is, to encourage them to not continue down the slippery slope, as Dr. Forrest said, but instead to get back on the right track. And we do this as early as we possibly can. We don't want to wait till midterm, because by mid-semester the student may have dug too deep of a hole. So we do it as soon as possible.
Yeah. And just, again, I'm saying just last night I was talking with my sister. She was talking to her daughter who's in a class, and I said, how's she doing in the class? She said, well, she doesn't have any grades yet. It's in April, and classes are over 2 or 3 weeks from now. and she has no grades yet. That would never happen here. We know our students are working really hard and they need feedback early and often, so we build our courses around that.
The other thing we work to do is make sure they're integrated socially as well as academically, because we know that they spend about 70% of their time outside of class. That means studying and everything else, but helping them find a place where they can fit in and belong. That's so important. And we have over 70 clubs and organizations. Every academic major has a club, so students can have access to working closely with faculty outside the classroom, because we also know that's a real big difference, engagement with faculty in different settings. And we really work hard to ensure that students' dreams can come true, too. They have a passion. I was at the volleyball game last year, sitting next to a first-year student who's grew up in France and had come from California. And he said, Dr. Forrest, I've been watching the currents. I love crew. We need to have a crew team. So I said, okay, let's do it. And so this fall, he was out there, proud as he could be. We now have a crew team. So it's that kind of thing. We also had ice hockey students who, were not successful with the team because we've become more competitive as time's gone on. And so now we have an ice hockey club, and we're probably going to be looking at adding one for women, I would suspect. So one of the things that we really do, we have an outdoor program. Mark can talk a little bit about the arts program that we have, because we really think about the whole student and all facets of their lives and how we can create an environment that engages as many of their passions as possible.
I don't know if this is a question for here or not, but how does it go with the roommates per se? They get a roommate if they don't know anybody, and the university puts them with somebody and things don't work out. How does all that work? This is our first time, so I'm just curious.
Yeah. My advice is if they can, come to summer orientation. They're going to meet about 150 to 250 other students.
Okay.
That's a time for initially seeing somebody.
Mm-hmm.
We work with students over orientation, and then throughout the summer, ask the right questions to the people that they met, and make sure they're getting the right answers. What time you go to bed, what are your study habits? If they find somebody they can match and let us know, and that's
Okay.
fine, we'll put them together. And if they don't, then we do some matching on our own. There's nothing scientific. People have been selling software forever to match roommates, and it really doesn't work. So what we do is we get you together. We work on roommate agreements. Everybody does. As a matter of fact, anybody who lives in our resident system, whether a first year, sophomore, or junior, go through a roommate agreement as to how they're going to run that room, how they're going to run each other's lives. There's an RA in the first year area on every floor, and if things aren't working out through mediation, through discussion, then we can work out moves as long as it's mutually agreeable, and we usually have space to do that. But it's a bit of a process. Students are coming to school, a lot of them not having lived with a sibling or not being away at home and having lived in that situation. So we know it's a little bit different than certainly when a lot of us went to school, and we approach it that way. But once again, like everything else we do here, individualized, personalized to the individuals involved, and then we try to work things out and make it a growing educational experience.
The one thing that we will not do is if somebody complains about somebody, and I don't want to talk to them about it, we won't enter into that enabling behavior. We're really trying to promote communication, being assertive, being considerate, and having people come together to talk as adults. And so that's part, and we'll ask you not to be helicopter parents or snowplow parents or lawnmower parents, whatever you want to call it, because this is a time for them to figure out how to negotiate, and it's hard because you fixed everything for them, right? And we have a situation right now with a father, and he's fixed everything, and it's not helped his son. So because they have to really come to grips with the fact that, they're going to be with themselves the rest of their lives, and they need to be developing the kind of skill set that will carry them through life, including employment. Or, because maturity and being assertive, communication, all of those are essential skills for whatever you choose to be. And so we work on that, and we don't let people just get away with blaming and running and hiding behind saying, oh, they won't, would you take care of it? because we're not going to do that.
Right, so when the kid calls you and says, I don't like my roommate, she's a jerk, will you call the university? You can call us and we'll, arrange that conversation between them, but we're not gonna just say, oh, fine, This is a problem-solving opportunity for the students.
And you need to say, the first question, have you talked about it with your roommate? That should be what your lead should be. Because I think, again, we're trying to build capacity in our students. I'll have to also tell you, I just want to give a little tip. Last week at our Experience UNE Day, a couple of students had met on the private social network that we provided in admissions to, it's called Connect. And so one of the things that they had done, one was from Florida and one was from Maine, so they had met there and they decided to come to Experience UNE Day. They met, they signed up for housing together.
Yeah.
So that network is really proving to be quite exciting as a way for students to connect with one another before they get here.
My daughter did it, and we're from Jersey. The girl she wants to room with, two of the girls are from Maine. They're going to triple. They met today for the first time. They've been on that social thing for.
That's great.
And,
Was she pleased?
Oh, they're. Us parents have just been kind of. The girls have just been.
It's not about parents
silly.
anymore.
They have been
Looking at
silly.
each other.
Is that the one through Twitter only?
What?
Is that the one through Twitter only?
No,
I think
it's
it's a Facebook.
it's a private
I have
Facebook.
no idea how to do it, but I think it's Facebook.
Yeah. And they-
They're out.
they-
I know she doesn't do Twitter.
Okay. Now, this is through the Spectrum system. Anybody that's been accepted can go on and log on. And if they don't know how to do it, we'll connect them with people who can tell them.
Great.
I don't know how to do it either, but I know it's there.
You might learn though.
We're not allowed on.
We're not allowed on it. Jeannie wanted to get on it, said Jeannie is.
It's only for accepted students. We're not,
And our student ambassadors, because our students are working with them, our current students are
Yeah,
talking with students.
it's a good site, the kids, and even other kids that she wasn't thinking of rooming, but have been, they're all, a lot of them are here today, and they're all meeting up and talking, and we're going to dinner with like 4 families tonight, so, yeah.
Go ahead.
Can you talk a little about the process for the orientation or when they meet with their advisor? And so, the admissions letter or the acceptance letter came in and it's a certain program, but then within that program, there may be different tracks he could take. And so we were in the...
Dr. Tilburg's the expert on that.
And how it works, they come into the orientation in the first couple of days are getting to know how UNE works. Because now the students are going to have a different mindset. Now they're coming to UNE. So we do a lot of team building things to get to know the other students. But on the last day, what we have is we have 2 things going on. They come in and they meet with all of the other students in their major. And depending on the number of students, we have a bunch of faculty that are there that give them their course schedule. Tell them what they're taking their first semester. Discuss what the different requirements are for the major, what it means to be a major. So when they first can have the really involved conversation on what it means to be a marine biologist, a medical biologist, pre-health or whatever, they show them the schedule. Then they work with the student to make certain that schedule meets the needs of the student. And so this person may not be their advisor, but it's someone in their department. Now, at the very beginning of the semester, all students are required on the first day to meet their advisor. And that's really important. We make certain that they do that because we want them to be able to associate a face with their advisor, where that advisor is, how to get in touch with them, what the contact information is, and all of that, because we want them to have at least one person who is dedicated to helping them be successful. So we have one place where it's just in general about the major, and then at a later date, we have them meet their own advisor.
One of the things that we think of is orientation really starting almost in the open houses, the Experience UNE Day. Every experience builds on that. And then the orientation is a very intensive 2.5-day where students are here working with all kinds of people on campus, and especially each other and our student leaders. And then, then we continue orientation when we open the halls and people move in permanently. And we have that particular day, but we also have a lot of other things going on. And we have a convocation where it's the formal initiation, if you will, where faculty robe and we process in and the students are there, and it's in honor of their entry.
And then continuing with that, as we were talking about the rolling alerts, the Division of Student Affairs, there's 30 of us that will adopt a floor in residence. And we'll be there for the first 3 or 4 weeks during the school year. We're meeting on Sunday nights, on Wednesday nights, on Thursday nights, and we're just checking in, doing some time management, making sure they know that all the things they heard in orientation and all the things they heard during the first couple weeks, now when they need it, here's where to get it. So we're constantly listening, constantly going back to what their needs might be to be successful. For us, this is an institution that's unique. We are student-centered. We may not be the expectation they have for college, but this is our university. So from open house today they're meeting their orientation leaders, is part of orientation. Summer's part of orientation. Fall is, and so is when they get here and finally get into the work. That's orientation as well, all built for their success.
We also, throughout their first year, we have a program where our assistant dean of students for Residence Life is sending them emails with useful links and tips on studying, and we time it to like midterms or the kinds of things that they needed to be thinking about at a particular time. So there's a resource in their email. And then we also send one to you every now and then to give you some resources. Because when they come home, like at Thanksgiving, there's certain kinds of conversations you might want to have. And I think that, we really do see this as a continuing. We also have a sophomore year experience where we're reaching out. And our career services office is trying to get into every first year class to let students know to come in beginning, even during orientation we'll be pushing this too, to start a plan for their 4 years. It's too late to wait till your junior and senior year. You really need to have a plan that links your academic internship plans, international study plans, and then also what kinds of resumes you need to get ready for all kinds of jobs. In fact, we are thinking, I know in the Division of Student Affairs, any of our student employees have to have a resume in order to get a position. And we're emphasizing the professional development skills coming right in the door.
There's a question here.
My daughter wants to do occupational therapy, and I was wondering what the percentage of undergraduates from UNE get into the master's program versus coming from other institutions.
I don't know the exact percentage because it's been changing, but it's a very high percentage because we've designed it to dovetail. In fact, a few years ago, it actually was one combined program, but we actually found it's really strengthened the pool of candidates to separate. So students come into health, wellness, and occupational studies, and then at the end of their 3rd year, they can apply for early admission to the graduate program. And so it becomes a 5-year master's. Or they can continue and get their bachelor's degree and then go in after that. Yeah. And that's really, it's nice, it's strengthened, and I think it also is a little more, it's better designed, I think, now.
Thank you. I think the other part of that is, we're wanting to make sure our students are well prepared for their exams, their credentialing exams.
Right.
And that's really important, the pass rates, getting those up. So that's one of the advantages for staying for 4 years.
Yeah.
Yes.
I haven't heard much talk about safety on the campus, and I'm sure it is, but I'd just like if you could elaborate a little more. I know there's some campuses that blue light things. Could you tell us about the safety on your campus, please?
Yes. I would direct you to the Jeanne report that's on our safety and security, and compare this institution with other institutions. We're like a microcosm of any place, we can't say we're totally safe, but I can tell you our data suggests that compared to a lot of institutions, in fact, there was a report released last year, and we were like on the one of the safest in the 100 that they rated.
So the Jeanne Cleary Act is a federal law that says that universities have to publish their safety data every year, and you can compare them.
We've also established, we have a behavioral risk assessment committee that Charles and I both serve. There's one on each campus. We meet either weekly or bi-weekly to assess any concerns, any potential bubbling issues, and talk about our response process for how do you deal with safety in the classroom, how do you, if a student's in trouble one way or another, or if there's an incident that occurs on campus. We huddle every week and talk about how can we anticipate that, what are possible indicators going on. And we have also an emergency alert system that sends out text if there's any kind of a situation going on. It goes instantly to everyone.
And we have the blue lights.
Yeah, we do. We
Do you?
yeah.
Okay.
Safe ride.
Safe ride.
I think one of the things about, we know we're safe. We don't rest on our laurels. And we don't say that, we don't work. Well, the thing is, we don't say that you don't work on it. We constantly work on being as safe as we can. And within residents, within our facilities, within security, it is something that we concentrate on.
Our buildings are always locked. Students have to use their card to get in.
Let's just say I leave my purse everywhere. And I always get it back with every credit card intact.
One day I went to go home and I couldn't find my purse, and I went back. I thought, where was I? So it was over in the snack bar, Windward, and it was still hanging on the chair, wide open. My phone was,
However, we're trying to teach everyone to be safe.
That's right. It's not a good example.
Maine is a pretty safe place. I never left my car. So I saw some other, yes.
I was just going to comment to her. We've had a daughter that's been here for 4 years, and I think all the dorms are excellent. I've never really been worried about her at all.
Oh, great.
I mean, it's quiet. I work here in Maine too, so I guess that means a pretty. But there are obviously bad people that could come in any time.
Just have to take precautions.
But
we are off the
But
beaten
we
path.
with a cell phone hanging out of the back pocket, because you can't go in the city with that hanging out of your back.
You're right.
Here,
They leave their dorm rooms open and they never see.
We don't recommend
We don't
that.
recommend.
I just say it. But you're right. I mean, but we do encourage people to be smart about things. And, if there is something that emerges that's of concern, we take alcohol and other drugs very seriously here. And we have a very robust approach from a discipline point of view. But we also engage our counseling center and other resources to assist students in making wise choices. And that is something that you can start to talk to your son or daughter about, because the national studies show that if families talk about, the norms of alcohol and drug use, then the utilization or even the sampling goes down. So I would encourage you to do that. And it doesn't, this campus, we abide by the federal and state laws. And so anybody under 21 is not eligible to drink, and we hold people accountable through our judicial system. And we know that alcohol and other drugs can be at the heart of violence or inappropriate behaviors. And so we really stress that we want people to make wise choices, be good citizens, and to be respectful of one another. And we do intervene, and we do take very serious action to include dismissal from the university if people are in violation.
I would also like to point out that our head of security here is a former commander from Portsmouth, New Hampshire Police. And he also sits on the Behavioral Risk and Assessment Committee, as does the head of counseling. And so, and we encourage our faculty, we encourage our staff, we encourage everyone that, if anything comes up, if there's anything that you feel uncomfortable about, or there's somewhere in your gut that you are wondering about, they bring it to the committee, and then we talk about it. And so we have people on there from academics, from residential life, from security, and from counseling, and from the health center. And we take the health and the safety of the students here very, very seriously. And you may have met Don Clark. He's a very unassuming man. He was at the academic affair. He's a very nice guy. His degree is in education, but he was also a commander of the SWAT team in Portsmouth. And so he's very aware of safety and how to create a safe environment. And I've always felt that, yes, we're off the beaten path. Yes, we are Maine. Yes, our Vice President of Student Affairs leaves her purse all over the place.
That was the Dean of Arts and Sciences.
I'm sorry, the Dean of Arts and Sciences.
Both bad.
Whatever it is, we still are going to be very vigilant about it, and we're not going to rest on the fact that, we're not going to say this stuff doesn't happen here. This stuff doesn't happen here because we're going to make certain that we can do everything in our power to prevent that from happening.
I'll just echo, our chief of security is so calm, he can calm any situation. It's nice to be around him if you're having a stressful day. Because, he can deal with kind of anything. So it instills confidence, I think, for everyone.
One thing about our officers, though, in Maine, private institutions cannot deputize their security forces. Unlike Massachusetts, MIT, Harvard, all those people are state police trained. They can't do that in Maine. So we feel very lucky to have somebody like him, as well as we've hired other people who have EMT backgrounds as well as some security. So we've got a real mix of people, and Don has been incredibly gifted at recruiting some of the best people. And I tell you, students go and talk to them, and often, they're part of the referral team too, because late nights and as they hang out.
These are very vigilant as far as safety with vehicles being parked that don't belong at the school and things like that also. And you do a very good job, I feel.
Thank you.
And helping with flat tires and.
Yeah, they're very nice.
And for me too.
It's interesting to say, it's good to ask yourself and your child if this is the place where he or she is going to be happy, because there are some students who really prefer an urban campus, and this isn't the place for them. The safe and quiet and kind of very friendly atmosphere is what we all thrive on and our students do. But the flip side is that we don't have the strip of bars and clubs and stuff, and we don't have a lot of people from outside the community, around and everything. So that's part of our culture, is that we are a safe, fairly quiet but lots of fun place. And you need to know if your child is going to thrive in that or chafe against it.
Because some people really want to party hardy, and this is not the place to do that.
Yes.
So if you have like an on-campus alcohol incident, do you call local law enforcement or you handle it in-house?
Well, it depends on the nature of the incident. Usually we handle it in-house, but there are circumstances where we do.
Right. And if we find your child responsible, you'll know about it on the first instance. And that's
Alcohol.
That's other drugs, and that's an invitation to participate in that discussion. And they'll hear it through orientation. I do a kind of upfront, tell it like it is presentation on what we have to do, what we are, and let them know where the lines are. And we're consistent. We work at consistency. Worst thing that can happen is, oh, this one's okay, but the next one won't be. We're pretty consistent.
So don't call saying, "Oh, come on, let him. Don't worry about this first one. It won't happen again." That wouldn't be consistent with our message.
And our recidivism is pretty low. So getting it on the first time, having that discussion, doing some intervention. All students, incoming students, are going to go through something called Alcohol EDU. It takes about an hour to go through. They have to do it. It's an education program. For those folks that we do see again, we have another program called BASIC, which is a one-on-one program to go through on alcohol usage. We're pretty serious about it. It can impede a student's success. It's not good for us. It's not good for them. We also know that some students come in with habits that are already in place. And we ask them, we ask you to have that discussion with them before they get here, because there's a lot at stake. And for those folks who do come here who aren't quite sure about being connected academically, and they do party and get themselves out of control, they stick out because there's not many of them. So.
And the other thing that we do, we also emphasize, we have an online program called Haven, because we're very, and all campuses are mandated to do this, but we really believe in the importance of talking about respect with each other in terms of relationships and any kind of sexual issues. And so we're very clear about our boundaries here, and you know, it is no is no, and everything here is something that we align all of our messages and try to say to students, be respectful of one another, treat yourself with respect, and treat each other with respect.
The student body is wonderful. The reason why I come to work every day, the reason why I came here 11 years ago is the student body. They're outstanding. They're good people. They come out to support each other. They come out to support the environment here. And whether it's an academic event, whether it's an athletic event, or a theater event, they're out supporting each other. It's a good place to be. And we want to continue.
That's a cool thing. The fact that we don't have fraternities, sororities, and bars means that the social life is here in the clubs and the activities. So whereas at some other schools, including some of the ones we've attended to and come to, it's nerdy to go to the play, you know, or to go to the campus-oriented dance. Here those things are full. That's the social life. It's what the students create on campus. And we're proud of that. So you had a question?
Yeah, my daughter is going to be a bio pre-med major. And in her acceptance, I think she was given the opportunity that if she met certain criteria during 4 years, she'd be accepted into the College of Osteopathic Medicine. And she didn't tell me a whole heck of a lot about what that criteria is. And
So
I guess A, I'd kind of like to know what the criteria is, and B, osteopathic medicine is, you know, it's different from an ND, and maybe a little discussion on that.
So, okay, so
differences
what
there.
she was told about it, many of your students probably got a similar thing, is what we call our GPS, which is Graduate Pathways to Success, which is essentially if you plan to go to one of the professional schools that we have, so medical, dental, pharmacy, PT, OT, physician assistant, I'm sure I'm forgetting some, Master's of Social Work, that if you keep your grades up in the suite of courses that are required towards that, and then you will have preferential access to our graduate programs. It's a way of us giving the privilege or the step up to the advantage to our own students. We want them to stay and be happy at UNE. For some of those programs, it's a guaranteed seat in the program. In others, and I believe this is true for medicine, it's a guaranteed interview.
Well, there's a pathway for a guaranteed seat, but
Oh,
all of the programs is predicated, even the guaranteed seat is predicated on a successful interview, in addition to the grades, you know.
So, but that interview, and you should all know this, is a big deal, because in these professional schools, most people aren't ever even invited for an interview. So if you get in the interview, you're already in the elite from which we choose. So because we have so many of them, she'll just have to look, and she'll do this with her advisor to see what the criteria are. And then as she goes through her undergraduate year, she and her advisor will always be seeing, are you on track on your GPS? So, so yeah, that's a great opportunity.
All medical schools are quite competitive. We get, it's over 4,000 applications now for the 175 seats that we have. And that's not unusual. But you also mentioned about osteopathic medicine versus allopathic. One of the interesting things, those distinctions become less and less as each year passes. And one of the things that just happened in the last couple of months is the American Association of Colleges of Osteopathic Medicine and the American Medical Education Association have come together and agreed on to have shared accreditation standards. So the education is essentially the same, with osteopaths, talking about a very holistic philosophy of practice, and also many of them learn, to do osteopathic manipulation. But that's actually a small percentage of osteopaths who actually practice with that.
And I tell you, I had a student from my former institution who went off to osteopathic medical school, not here, but in Kirksville. And basically what she did is she sat for both boards. She has an MD and a DO, which you can do. So,
Yeah. But in the end, whether you're a DO or an MD, you can be a surgeon, an anesthesiologist, an asthma specialist, a cardiologist. It just, and if you look, when you go to your doctor's offices, you'll often see MDs after half of their names and DOs after the other.
If you look at a map of the state of Maine, it's really interesting. You look at what the impact our medical school has had here. If you do a picture of the primary care provided in the whole state, with and without our school, it's amazing. I can't remember the exact percentage, but the whole picture changes of the state.
Yeah.
So it's
we're
a
the
huge.
largest provider.
Yeah, the
And
largest.
we're the only medical school in Maine. I mean, in most states, the flagship university, University of Vermont, Penn State, whatever it might be, that's where the medical school is. University of Maine doesn't have a medical school, only UNE does.
We're also the only school in New Hampshire, Maine, and Vermont with the College of Dental Medicine.
I think you had a question?
I just want to tell you, we're very impressed with your open house and whatnot. We went
Thank
to
you.
another university last week that was also her choice, and I mean, I think this definitely sealed the deal. I know it did for us as parents. Just taking the children off, I call them children still, sorry. Just taking them off this morning by themselves, and like it's your day and your parents have to go somewhere else. It's like, wow, this is kind of cool. And she told us they actually sat in a lecture and pretended it was a class, and I think it's really great, and I just wanted to commend you that you're.
No, we appreciate that so much.
Yeah,
Thank
it's
you.
great.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's impressive on the passion, just, even with you guys, but also at the where we got to meet other professors and stuff. I mean, it's just, the passion is impressive.
And we're not faking it. People say
No,
that
you
a
can
lot.
tell, you can tell.
No, I know, but you think, how can you keep this up? I mean, when we do. I guess Clay's here, been here for 25 years, so you can see he's gotten tired. But I tell you, you come here and it's infectious. I mean, Cynthia is a big part of it. A lot of it comes from our president. I mean, she's an extraordinary person with boundless energy, very high expectations. We work very hard. I mean, this is not a sleepy college. It's the opposite. And it's just a really amazing place.
Yeah, we've experienced you guys for the last 4 years, and it's just wonderful. I want my younger daughter to come in.
It does. You get a little bit off the tuition. Well, I guess only if there's.
I don't know about that. We don't take
For discounts, talk
Well,
about.
I'll
There
tell
is
you,
a
we went
discount
to
for
UMass
separate.
yesterday, and we came here today. Yesterday, she was on a couple other options. Today, it's like, all of a sudden, the shifts, so it's great.
And you know what, you just have to step back and zip the lip, as they say. Because, and you'll kind of support, but gently so, because this is a time when they're just trying to be moving toward that adulthood,
And you really
Why?
give them the opportunity with the research and things like that, she's presenting at the national conference, so we're very proud of her.
That's the kind of stuff that happens all the time here. Sometimes
She's
you're like,
been
why
published.
doesn't UNE, why don't more people know about it? Because over and over, people get here, and when they see what's going on, like so many of our undergraduates presenting at national meetings, publishing with their professors, that we have a campus in Morocco, and people say, who are you? UNE.
We're a new brand too. I mean, as the
Yeah,
institutions go, because, we were formed in the 70s from St. Francis College and then the Osteopathic Medical School. Then 96, Westbrook became part of it. So it's, as, Harvard's, 1636, and here we are, 1970 something. So, we're having to tell our story. And we, right now, we have deposits from students in 20 states, which we're really excited
And
about this
multiple
past.
countries, yeah.
Multiple countries, and we had deposits last year from 28 states. We have applications from, I think, more like 48 states. So we're out there telling our story too. And you're part of it as well, which we appreciate.
And if you look at the leadership look at where we've come from. Just, I mean, in the last couple of years, Dr. Tilburg came from University of Georgia where he was going gangbusters, but he wanted to spend more time with students. I came from Miami University, which is a school of about 17,000 students in Ohio, if you've ever heard of the one they call Miami of Ohio. Dr. Forrest came from, most recently, University of South Carolina.
No, well, I was there, but Framingham State. And
Framingham.
then I did consulting for 7 years.
That's right.
I did
Our
little-
president came
that's a
from
bad one.
Medical College of South Carolina. Our dental dean came from Tufts, where he'd been for 20 years or so. So we are bringing in people from major research universities who want to be here because of the focus on students. And we get here, and then there's this energy that you're feeling, and it just feeds.
And I came from a little school on the coast of Maine called the University of New England.
And Mark was at B here at one point, SUNY Oswego, Central.
A few,
Yeah, so we've been, Mitchell, you've been big, small.
But one thing I would say about, we talk about this, but when we hire professors, we're looking for a particular type of professor. We are looking for someone that is a very good researcher and a very good scholar, and it doesn't really matter which department I'm talking about, it's all of them. But we make certain during the interview process that the #1 priority of this future faculty member are the students at the institution. And I have a very robust research program, and I spend a lot of time, probably more than my boss would like, in my lab working with my students. I consider the product of this not the research that I do, not the papers that I produce, but I consider it, I think of Cassidy, who's now at the Virginia Institute of Marine Sciences. I think of Margaret, who's now working at the University of Michigan. I'm thinking of Linda, who's working for NOAA. I'm thinking of the students. And I'm not an aberration. This is what our faculty, we've chosen faculty that are world-class scholars, but are interested in teaching students and working with students. We still do our research, we still are very productive, but we involve students in it. And we have a lot of different directions that we could go into, but we've decided that that's the direction we want to go. On May 2nd, we're going to have the Undergraduate Research Symposium, where we're going to have probably a couple hundred different students present their research that they've done all throughout this year. They're going to be the first author on the posters and the presentations and all that. They've all been working with a particular professor. We value that. We reward that. We reward our professors for doing that. Our expectations are that that is part of your job, and those are the type of professors we have. And that's what we like doing. So, it's not about the world-class research and getting published in the super scholarly journals and getting the multi-million-dollar grants. We like those things, but we are working with your sons and daughters. That's what we consider our #1 priority.
Any questions or other comments or anything you think we need to be thinking about that we didn't cover? Well, I want to thank you for joining us today, and I wish you the very best. I want to remind you, if you do deposit today, your son or daughter can sign up for housing and orientation, as well as parent orientation.
Plus you get a new car.
Well, you do get a gift, I'm just saying.
And if you don't sign up today, still have orientation materials taken.
Exactly.
It's a surprise.
They're taking this.
Signing up today, you can still get orientation material?
If you're not signing up today, please take, if you're not sure, take the brochure, take the information on orientation, so you take something with you, and get your questions answered in terms of dates and what the programs are. Trailblazer is a great thing to try if you can fit it. So have that conversation, even if you don't sign up today, if you're not depositing.
And Trailblazers is an experience that really is a bonding experience that's outside of orientation, but it's part of our,
I saw there's 3 sessions, they only have to attend one?
Yes.
That's right.
Okay.
Yes.
Is there flexibility within those sessions, meaning like session 1, June 16th through the 18th, my daughter would be able to make 2 of those days. Then she's on vacation, but she could make the last day of session 3. Is there, you know what I mean? Otherwise, she couldn't do any of those. She could do the one in August, but she's afraid not that many people are gonna be there in August to meet before school starts.
There's less in August, yes. I'm not gonna say, no, that can't happen. I'd rather have you have that conversation with our orientation staff, see if it might work. It's difficult because we're trying to do some things with the groups as they go through the 3 days, but ask the question.
It's team building, you know, we really are trying to develop that sense of community there.
Same time, if it's August, yeah, it'll be fine.
And it's a full orientation session in August.
Any of you wants to talk with us one-on-one, we'll be down here, and then you have another session. Please be safe driving home, and thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. Good luck.